interesting episode of Inside Out, and today we're talking Sweet 16. However, in today's trend, there seems to be something happening to a lot of young girls in their teen years, and that is teenage pregnancy. Just yesterday on social media, I think I read about them saying a 15-year-old girl died trying to commit an abortion. She took 2 tablets or something, and she died. Now, the question is, as parents, as teachers, as counselors, as siblings, as fathers, as mothers, what are we not telling our children that is making them fall prey to teen pregnancy? As the world is changing, there's so much access to information and all sorts on the internet. Is there supposed to be a change in the style of parenting? Is it possible for us to use what our parents used to tell us and tell it to our own children now, and they would believe it and understand it and stay with it? Are we too strict or are we too loose as parents? I think those are all the questions that come to mind. And I think I have a panel that's going to do justice to this topic. I'm going to start my introduction from my left. Please help me welcome her again. From the Ministry of Women's Affairs and Poverty Alleviation for Lagos State Government, Mrs. Fadairo, you're once again welcome. And next to her is a lawyer, a teenage counselor. She is Olubukola Olowe. You're welcome to Inside Out. Biwata Miela, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, she's a student of Tom Caleb High School. You're welcome to Inside Out. He is Mr. Olumide Odukoya. He's a father to 5 daughters, so I know that he's qualified to be on that panel. Now, before we go any further, there's a 5th guest, and we didn't want to put her here because, again, a lot of us, when we do these things, but we're not yet ready psychologically to come out and talk about it. But we felt it was good to hear from a victim and somebody who's been through it, who can tell us her story. And so we're going to do that via video. So I'm going to ask you all to just hold on, listen to this, and then we'll come and start. It would help us lead the conversation.
My name is Onya Kinzago. I live in Lagos, where things are getting better every day. Our school has just been renovated and they give us free notebooks too. Going to school is easier and safer for students like me because I can cross the highway using the footbridge, and I use the BRT bus, which is fast, convenient and free for students like me. I enjoy looking at the beautiful streets on my way to school. And the many street signs tell me where exactly I am. When I get to Basic 12, the government will pay the fees for my GCE and NECO examinations. I am happy. My mom and dad says all these good things are happening because they pay their taxes. I hope to pay my taxes when I grow up and start working. Have you paid your tax?
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
My name is Jennifer Okeje, and I was born in 1987. I grew up with my parents. We were at the point born with a silver spoon, but later on things got really bad when I was 4. And my parents tried to actually give me a lot. But at a point, I felt I wasn't getting enough, because going to school, I wanted to wear the best uniforms, carry the finest bag, but I couldn't get it. I had some friends who would always, tell me, oh, my mom bought me this, my dad bought me that. And just the fact that, I had 4 brothers, I was the only female at that point, I felt I was supposed to get enough compared to my classmates. when I was 13, I started getting gifts from classmates, most especially from guys. I had this senior in my school, he was in SS3, who was giving me lots of attention. He showers me with gifts, he advises me, even when I tell him I don't feel like talking to my dad, he tells me, oh, you know what, tell your dad this, tell him that. So he became my brother. And at a point, I could no longer, live without thinking about him. I always wanted to be around him. At that point, I said, I am in love. He introduced me to all his friends. We ate, and that was my first time of tasting alcohol. It tasted sweet, bitter, but I liked it. And then we got talking, and we did it. It was painful at first, but over time, it became very sweet. That was the only thing I think about. I noticed that my body started changing. My breast size were getting bigger. I was getting tired. So I confided in a friend of mine in school, and she told me that we should go for a lab test, which I did, and I found out I was pregnant. I was so scared to tell my dad. So I went to meet him, and I told him I think that I was pregnant. And that particular day, he said no problem, that he would come and meet my parents and tell them that he's responsible and that he wants to marry me. So I was okay. It took time for my mom to actually notice that something had changed about me. And they asked me who and when I started. And I told them I started dating the guy since I was 13, and that the guy said he would marry me. So we went to see him in his school. When we got to his campus, we were told that he has been squatting there for years and that he no longer lives there, and he was not a student of that school. I couldn't say anything. My dad said he was going to stop paying my school fees, and they sent me to the village. I started farming alongside my grandma. I was planting yam, helping her with cassava, gari, and I was making santana. 9 months later, I put to birth to a beautiful girl whom I love so much right now, whom is making me proud, whom I can do anything just to make sure she is happy, just to make sure she has my full attention. I started working alongside. I noticed people, were making money from hair making and most times selling of food crop. So I started doing different things. I was, trying to take care of my baby, buy baby food with the help of my parents and my grandma, whom sent me then 500 naira every 2 weeks to make sure my baby has something to eat. I decided at a point in my life that no man would ever come close to me. I hated men with passion. But I couldn't hate them much because my brothers were not mean to women. And my dad and my mom lived, and they're still living happily. So I thought money, I was greedy. I didn't understand what my parents were telling me at that point when the silver was no longer there. Right now I understand, and I am training my daughter with and without a silver spoon so that by the time she gets to that age where a man starts to tell her things, she would understand. Mommy has gone through this before. Mommy has told me all this, so She won't allow herself to be enticed by any man, woman, anybody outside with material things. And to teenagers, your parents loves you no matter what, no matter what. And if you feel there is a gap, write a letter. The way you always send postal services during this time, write a letter and drop it on daddy's bedside or mommy's bedside and let them read it. And something different will happen. My brothers always did that, but I try it. It works.
Who knows Abi better thing? Abi who no like better thing? Ha. All these fine things wey dey see so. Na money government dey take do am now. Abi, it's like, I mean, excuse me, I dey pay my tax. I dey do wetin? I dey pay my tax. Say you don't pay your own tax. Have you pay your tax?
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
You're welcome back. That video is just one of the stories of so many girls. And I'm sure by the time our panelists are done, you would still hear some more. And I think I'm just going to start this conversation with you, Daddy. 5 girls. I understand one of your daughters is here. Yeah. Hi, daughter. Yes. I want to ask you as a parent, what exactly is going on? I mean, you have a beautiful daughter. You have 4 others. Yeah. What is wrong? What's going on?
Well, I think it has something to do with the relationship you have with your kids.
The relationship you have with your
daughters, with your children, and the upbringing, so forth.
Yes.
It's for parents to bring up kids successfully at the teenage age, it takes the grace of God. I must be sincere with you. And then the exposure to the present social media and all this thing, that's another problem entirely. Because for me, what I did in my own situation is, I happen to be, I brought myself to their level. They are my friends. We talk, we chat. No matter what they do, I'm involved. In their school, most of the time I drop them in school. I find time I'm on my own anyway. I work on my own, so I find time to go and pick them. If anything is happening in school, definitely by the time I get to them, they'll tell me. And then I happen to know their proprietor. So it's easier for me to bring them to, Do
you think as a father, the way that we need to treat our children now is different from the way our parents raised us?
Yes.
Well,
in those days, for now, the only thing is try to bring yourself to their level. If you are their friends and you have a rapport with them, definitely they will open up to you.
Where you become a friend, because that's what I remember somebody saying to me, I cannot be a friend and a parent. I have to choose one.
No. The two, they go hand in hand.
Okay.
Because if you're to treat them the way we were treated then, that's the way I see it is their own understanding then.
Yes.
They'll be strict.
Yeah.
They don't discuss, when it comes to sexual issues in education, is a no-go area. They're not doing it intentionally, it's part of their own way of, that's their way of life.
But you don't think that can work in today's world?
No, it can't work.
It can't work.
I mean, if you talk to them and explain to them, they'll throw questions at you, and then you tell them, look, this is the situation, this is what you do. And then by the time you are friends with them, if anything's happening to them in school, they will tell you, look, Daddy, this is what is happening. Somebody did this, somebody did that, somebody touched me here, you know. And then you tell them, look, this thing, it's not against the law. I mean, to me, I tell them, look, God created man and woman. There's a purpose for it. But
you have that kind of conversation with your daughters?
They ask me questions, we talk, and then I don't stop at that level. They talk to their mom too. And then in the family, we just sit down and they start talking. And they shoot most of this, some African films, all these Yoruba films or African traditional films. When they're watching, I tell them, look, can you see that lady will run into trouble because she's pregnant, and instead of the parents to talk to her, the normal thing is you get another and throw them out of the home. It's like you're exposing them to danger. You're telling them, look, I don't want to see you. Out of the kid itself, the orientation is upside down. She's disturbed, she can't think straight. And then you decide to kick her out of home. Then she will do anything. She'll take advice from her friends. And
that's what the girl in...
And that will lead into trouble. So by the time you talk to them, the mistake has been made, pull them closer. What exactly happened? They'll tell you. Now, what do you do about it?
Let me talk to you, Buki. You work with teenagers a lot. What has been your experience working with teenagers?
It's been awesome. It's been fantastic. And it has also been depressing. Because most times I tend to ask if I have to, when working with teenagers at a point, it gets to a point where I get to work with their parents also. Most especially if it has to do with teenage pregnancy, with abuse, child abuse, rape, and all sorts. I get to fact parents, when did this disconnect take place?
There's a disconnect.
Yes, there's a disconnect. Because you find out when a mother gives birth to a child, she's close to that child, right from when the child is a baby. They are friends. The daddy carries the daughter on his neck. And, you know, by the time the child starts growing up and every other thing, it gets to a point there's a disconnect there. He said something. He said he's friends with his children. You can only get information from your children when you are their friends. You can never get information from your children when you decide to play a pattern of being just the parent. They have their own map of the world. What is your own map of the world? There's so much information into them. They are being thrown, the media is there, the TV is there, their friends are there, every other thing is there. But as a parent, are you streamlining it? Are you streamlining this information for them? You can't tell me that you are your child's parent and you don't know your child's best friend. You can't tell me you're your child's best parent and you don't know the family of your child's best friend. If I have a daughter and has a friend, I want to know our parents. I want to know their family values. If I have my own personal family values, I'm instilling in my child. Once my child goes out to the wrong person or to the wrong people, the child gets to get their own family values. And before I know what is happening, my child is getting corrupt. You sit down with your child is watching a movie, like Daddy said right now. Do you take time out to talk with your child on that movie? Let's take, for example, what just happened recently. Bruce Jenner, who just became a lady, Kathleen. And 2 days ago, a woman called me and said, my daughter said something. My daughter says she wants to be a man.
Really?
And I'm asking, a 7-year-old daughter wants to be a man. And I'm asking, what has your child been watching? What has your child been listening to? As awesome as some of these cartoons we throw out to our children to watch, what messages are they passing out to those children? A whole lot of parents are shy and they cringe when it comes to sex education. If as a parent, if you cannot discuss sex education with your child, you are indirectly digging your child's grave.
So what has been, when you talk to a lot of these, you've had some teenagers who got pregnant that you have counseled.
Yes.
What was it that you noticed as a trend among them?
Well,
what was the problem?
99% of them, I would say, would always put the blame on their parents.
Will put the blame on their parents for them being pregnant.
For them being pregnant. And you ask why, and you get to hear, most times when I go to meet mommy or when I go to meet daddy and I ask them questions, they shut me down. Or the next thing, for the religious ones, the next thing they are going for deliverance for their children. The next thing they are bringing out.
Taking their children for deliverance.
For deliverance.
For asking a question.
For asking a question, feeling that she's already possessed.
Wow.
Or the next thing, they are just giving them rules. You don't give a child rule when you have not helped the child to water the challenges in front of that child. What will your rules do to that child? You don't go to school with that child. You are not at home 100%. Even if you are at home 100% with that child, if that child wants to get pregnant underneath your roof, she will get pregnant underneath your roof. We have girls who bring in boys into the house, and their parents are inside the house and they don't know.
Really?
Yes, really. I've had a situation where a girl actually got pregnant underneath in her own house. She actually camped the guy in our house, and our parents never knew. The guy stayed in the house for 2 months.
Where was he living? Which part of the house?
In our bedroom.
Wait, nobody enters her room?
Nobody enters her room. It was a free-for-all house. Because I got to meet the parents, and I realized that they had a misplaced priority with the upbringing of their children. They used other things to represent their parental responsibility, while they themselves failed in their own parental responsibility. And you ask, for some of them, they realize that, like she said, like the audio we heard right now, friends. For some, they watch something on the TV, they watch something on the internet, and they feel like practicing it. We should remember, I always tell parents, your children are human beings. They are not the toys you buy for them. They feel, they hear, they react. When it comes to sex, we are hormonal human beings. So for sex is in the hair, it is thrown in the hair, it is everywhere. You don't need to cage your child into the house. If you cage her in your apartment, sex will creep into her. It will creep into the house and blow itself or in front of her. But when you are in, but when you align your priority as a parent, realizing that your child has challenges, realizing that as she is growing up, a whole lot of challenges are coming up. Your child's map of the world when that child was 1 to 5 will be different from a map of the world when the child was 5 to 10. Will be different from that child's map of the world when the child enters her teenage years. Sometimes I ask ladies, and I'm going to ask ladies here, who gets pregnant? Ladies. Who gets pregnant? Ladies. Who drops out of school? Ladies. Who carries the shame? Ladies. Who goes into labor room? Ladies. Who is between life and death? Ladies. Who is most foolish?
I know why you do what you do. Now let's talk to a teenager. Hi, Biwata, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Tell me what you know about teenage pregnancy. Tell me how much information you have.
Well, okay, I'm going to say this. I want to illustrate in the story I heard.
Okay.
There's this teacher in my school told me when she was a teenager that then her parents never taught her some stuff. They never told her about sex and stuff like that. So she didn't have information about it. And when she'd go to school, her friends, her other mates that also were ignorant about it, and when a boy asks them, they are all blushing and the boy likes me. Then they go out with the boy, they sleep with the boy, they come and tell her that, oh, I had fun and stuff. And she, at times, she would draw back that I don't know how, because she never knew about it, so I don't know how she would feel that it was wrong in her. But she would feel it was wrong, and still she would feel drawn to it. So it got to a time, there was this boy in our school that liked her. And whenever the boy tells her these stories, you're a butterfly in my stomach, you're this and that, it enters her head.